Hey guys, Kevin with CBM Reviews here, and we've got another one for you. Even though Infinity War is already out, we are still on the road to Infinity War. This time we're talking about Thor Ragnarok. Thor Ragnarok was directed by Taika Waititi, and it stars Chris Hemsworth, Mark Ruffalo, Cate Blanchett, Tessa Thompson, and Taika Waititi again. Before I continue, I just want to thank my subscribers. You guys are great. I love the fact that you're following me. Keep up the good work. And if you guys who haven't subscribed want to get in on that subscribe train, just go ahead and click that subscribe button down there. And if you don't want to miss any of the stuff that I put out on a weekly basis, make sure you click that notification bell and you'll get those notifications every single time I upload. Anyway, let's get down to the story. This pretty much picks up right after Age of Ultron. At the end of Age of Ultron, Thor left to go find the Infinity Stones. Didn't really come up with anything, but he decided, hey, I'll have a noble cause and stop Ragnarok. He goes after Surtur, who is in the realm of Muspelheim, and takes him down, takes the crown back to Asgard, where he finds out that Odin has not been there, and it's been Loki impersonating him. They go on a quest to find Odin. They talk to him right before he passes away, and this causes Hela to come out. Hela was only being kept at bay because Odin was alive, and when he passed, Hela comes back and decides, I'm about to wreck shop. She says, I'm going to Asgard. I'm going to take my rightful place as the Queen of Asgard, which technically she was entitled to, and shows Thor and Loki what real power is. Oh, by the way, did I mention Hela is his older sister? They escape, but as they're escaping, they get knocked out of the Bifrost beam, and she arrives on Asgard and says, kneel or die. And so a lot of people end up dead. Meanwhile, Loki and Thor are on another planet called Sakaar, and there's where they meet the Grandmaster, who's played by Jeff Goldblum. Thor has to enter the Contest of Champions to win his freedom, and who does he have to fight? None other than the Hulk. That's right, the Hulk has been on this planet ever since the events of Age of Ultron as well. He's actually been on this planet for about 2 years now, and he's been hulked out for that long. They fight. He's trying to go back to Asgard, so they figure out that the best way to get back to Asgard is going through this one portal. They escape, and when I say they, I mean Thor and Banner, because the Hulk is now back to being repressed, and Valkyrie, who is also known as Scrapper 142, and was one of the elite warriors of Asgard before their whole populace was decimated by Hela. They get back to Asgard just as Hela is trying to make a break for the sword for opening the Bifrost Bridge so that she can conquer more than just 9 realms. There's a huge fight, and the heroes are kind of holding the little grunts at bay, but Hela is still too powerful, and they realize in order to stop Hela from gaining all this power and laying waste to everything, they have to cause Ragnarok. So Loki goes into Odin's secret stash and gets the crown, puts it into the eternal flame, and causes Surtur to rise and destroy Asgard, meaning that Hela's powers are no longer as powerful as they should be because her power comes from Asgard. And the Asgardians, or who's left of the Asgardians, get on a ship and they are flying to find a new place to call home. And then Thanos finds them. But that's the movie in a nutshell. And what did I think about it? This movie's fun. This movie is loads of fun. I enjoyed watching it, and this actually brings a new aspect to Thor, a comedic aspect, one that you really don't see that much in the first 2 Thors. It kind of took an out there director to bring the comedy fun, and I'm not saying that everything in the movie's fun, but when you get to Sakaar, it's a blast to be had by everybody. I loved watching the Thor Hulk fight. I loved watching Korg, who you find on Sakaar. There are just all of these elements that just work. Also, another thing that I loved about it is the fact that they stayed their tail in space for the most part. They do come to Earth briefly, and we get a cameo from Doctor Strange, and that was great. But what they do is they stay on Asgard or they stay on Sakaar. I love that we stayed closer to Asgard than we have in all of the other iterations of Thor. Also, we have a villain. I'm not discounting you, Loki, but you're a good guy now. We have Hela as a villain, and Cate Blanchett does a smashing job portraying her on the big screen. It was great watching her work. She is seriously OP, but I'm going to get to something about that later. And I mean, it definitely feeds right in to Infinity War. So if you're going through that list, it's like, what do I need to watch before I go to the movies? This is a must-see, because as soon as Infinity War starts, it is literally right after the events of Thor Ragnarok. However, this is not a perfect movie, and I've got 4 gripes. I've got 4 gripes about this movie. So I'm gonna go from the least offensive to most offensive as far as the problems that I had with this. And the least offensive thing that I find is that sometimes this movie makes a little too many jokes. Sometimes they just don't know when to stay stoic. A couple of examples was during the destruction of Asgard, the literal destruction of Asgard, and Korg is over here kind of making some of the jokey jokes, and I felt like that was a moment where he's like, you should have just kept it serious, because this is a big thing. This is the destruction of one of the 9 realms, and I felt like him making with the it's like, it's got good, no, it's gone, just kind of like took away some of the gravity of the situation. The second problem that I had, and this was a little bit more serious, is that this is a Thor movie, but everybody steals the show. So if Thor's by himself, it's Thor, but when he's on the screen with somebody else, that person just seems to steal the spotlight. So if he's on the screen with Loki, Loki's got the show. If he's on the screen with Doctor Strange, it's Doctor Strange's show. If he's on the screen with Hela or Valkyrie or Korg or the Hulk, they all steal Thor's thunder. Pun intended. And so for this to be a Thor movie, I kind of felt like Thor was given a back seat whenever anybody else was on the screen. The third thing that I have is one of the action sequences. Now this is where I'm kind of like, really? There's an action sequence on the Rainbow Bridge where it's Hela and the forces of Hela versus the Revengers. They're beating the forces, that's not the issue. But it's when the forces have kind of been dealt with and Hela has to step up and Loki has to go put the crown of Surtur into the eternal flame. Now you've got a fight with Thor and Valkyrie versus Hela, who has grown exponentially in power. So you're telling me that Valkyrie, who is the last of her elite warrior princess kind, and a hammerless Thor, who, by the way, is still pretty darn strong, are going to beat the goddess of death, just 2 of them, whenever she slaughtered entire armies? I find that too much of a stretch. Just too much. Even though you can kind of see it, like when she's fighting those armies, there's no holdback. And then when she's fighting on the Rainbow Bridge, it just seems like the pizzazz isn't there. And so that's number 3. And the number 4 thing, it's a crippler. And nobody has talked about this before. The plan that Hela had was that she was going to take over Asgard, check, and then she's going to use the Bifrost and go to other realms and conquer them, so that there's not just 9 realms, there's 10, 11, 12, 13, however many realms she wants. This is the problem. Heimdall takes the Bifrost sword. Okay, good for you, Heimdall. That doesn't stop things. In the very first Thor, we actually see the Bifrost open without the Bifrost sword. In the scene where Odin banishes Thor to Earth, or to Midgard, Heimdall has the sword by the entrance of that room. Odin uses his staff to open up the Bifrost and banish Thor. If Odin can use his staff, Hela can use her staff. Maybe it's a power that the weapon is granted, or maybe it's just a courtesy that the ruler of Asgard can possess. In either case, the Bifrost sword was not necessary, and Hela could have gone without having to go search for the other Asgardians or Heimdall, and she would have won. Until Thor eventually made it back to Asgard, she would have won. And so I feel like that was wasted potential. I would have loved to have seen them go to another planet and just lay waste to it. Perhaps Vormir. That would have been wonderful if they would have done that, and that way we would have kind of gotten a little bit of a quick introduction to that planet before we're just thrust into it in that other movie that I'm not supposed to spoil. So anyway, that was the biggest flaw. I'm surprised that nobody's ever caught it before, so I'm first. It's me, I did it, that was my call. Anyway,
I really liked Thor Ragnarok. My favorite character was Thor, and my favorite scene was when Thor dropped the hammer in the dragon's mouth and he couldn't move. And my least favorite scene is when they cut Thor's hair because I really liked it all. You should watch the movie, it's really good.
This is the last chance for you to send in your Black Panther retrospectives. Remember, I've already done a spoiler review for Black Panther, so I'm not doing another thing on top of it. So if you guys want to send in what you thought about Black Panther, go ahead and send it in to comicbookquizbowl@gmail.com. I'll put it in the video, and if by miracle we make it to 200 subscribers before May the 4th, somebody's going to win the entire Marvel Cinematic Universe on Blu-ray. So that's it for Thor Ragnarok. What did you guys think? Was I being a little bit too hard on the God of Thunder? You guys let me know in the comment section down below. If you enjoyed this video, hit that like button. And if you're new here, go ahead and subscribe. Share this video with all your friends. And as always, this is Cameron with CBM Reviews. We'll see you next time.